All right, what is next? I love this clipboard. I stole this from work. If any of my coworkers are watching, yep, this is ours. I said I was going to borrow it for the weekend. I had no intention of returning it, so it helps me stay organized. I've got a plan for today. Hold on. It helps me stay organized. Okay, I think I've got it together now. Now, last year we did talk about crop rotation, and we also talked about companion planting. We're going to be really diving into this over the next few videos. Crop rotation does not have to be complicated. It's a lot like companion planting, only with companion planting, you're planting two things at the same time next to each other that are going to grow and help each other in some way. With crop rotation, you're planting one thing one year, growing it, and then the next year you plant something there that is going to help the soil. I know plenty of you know that, but that was for those of you who didn't. Now, all of my beds need to be rotated this season. I can't plant corn over here where I had corn last year. Same for my potatoes, my tomatoes, my squash over here. Each plant's just going to take what nutrients it wants, leaving little for the next generation. Not only that, but they come with their own pests. You guys remember over here, we had the squash vine borer. Them little buggers can burrow down deep into the soil and come back in the spring. If I put squash there again this year, I guarantee I'll have the same problem. So I'm going to move my squash and I'm going to plant something there that they just can't eat, and hopefully if they do pop up, they'll either move off someplace else or starve. But just to simplify things, beans, roots, greens, fruits. Memorize that. That will save you a lot of headache. There's a lot more to it than that, but if you can remember beans, roots, greens, fruits, that's going to help you year to year as far as what you put in your beds. Going back to potatoes, they're really heavy nitrogen users, so the next year you don't want to put potatoes in the same area. There's not much nitrogen left in that soil. Instead, plant something that doesn't require a whole lot of nitrogen, and then plant a nitrogen fixer with it, like beans. Beans pull nitrogen from the air through their leaves and expel it into the dirt through their roots. You can leave the beans on there to dry and have a dry storage. You don't even have to pick them. Not only that, but at the end of the season, you don't even have to pull the whole thing up. You can cut the bean plant right at soil level and leave the roots in there, and they'll continue to break down and put more nitrogen into the soil. So beans are going to be our best friend this year. We're going to have beans absolutely everywhere. Beans are like the prettiest girl at the dance that everybody wants to dance with. She knows every single song, she knows every single step. There is not a single partner out there that she cannot keep up with. But if you have a simple backyard garden and you're not trying to grow 18 different varieties in a small north-facing space like I am, beans, roots, greens, fruits is going to help you remember in a simplified way where to put your plants each spring for the best harvest. Now I've already done some early preparation on rotating my beds. We'll look at that in just a second. But another thing you're going to want to consider is your sunlight. Now we rent our house. We're saving up money so we can buy land and really expand and do what we want to do, but we have a south-facing front lawn and we're not allowed to have anything out there because of the neighborhood that we're in. So all of my plants are in the backyard. My entire garden is north-facing, and not only that, I have trees on the western side, so my garden's pretty limited on how much light I get. But it's amazing what you can grow in partial shade. Carrots, cabbage, any kind of leafy green, they require 4 hours or less of daylight. The wind just popped my garden gate open, sorry. Now, I have a list here, guys. I did my homework, I was ready for you. But we're gonna go over which plants need full sun, like corn. You've seen corn in farmers' fields. As soon as there's a tree on the edge of the field, the corn just goes shorter and shorter into the shade. And then we're gonna go over some of the stuff that really doesn't hardly need sunlight at all, like leafy greens. This wall is north facing. This tree is actually fixing to come out, which will help a ton because once it crowns out, the sun only has to about here to really reach everything in this back area. So with that gone, that'll be awesome. But these beds lie on the northern wall, and right about where this we just added this is new. I hadn't even shown this yet actually, but we wanted to kind of bulk up the depth back here because this is going to be potatoes. But right about here, all the way back to the wall, this area gets about 4 hours of sunlight a day, and that's even in full summer, so we're not even there yet. A lot of the dirt along this back line is still frozen if you dig down far enough. Of course, the dogs didn't think so. They went to digging with no problem. Snow peas are coming up. Hello, my little darlings. So basically everything past this line behind me has to be a shade-tolerant vegetable. Let's go over our shade lovers, shall we? Any leafy greens. Leafy greens pop up and you can harvest them within weeks. If you guys haven't tried making your own salad yet, highly recommend it. Kale, arugula, spinach, lettuce, chard, and cabbage, they all grow really well in shade, and some of those can even be put in pots and moved around. If you have an area that receives no sun whatsoever, you can still put a pot there and just move it into the sun. It's a little bit labor intensive, but it doesn't mean you can't have a garden. Full sun only. These plants need to be south facing, or they need to be so far away from any tree or structure that no shade can be cast on them throughout the day. We've got cucumbers, bell peppers, hot peppers, obviously, okra, eggplant, squash, corn, watermelon, and cantaloupe. All of these need to be either southern facing or way away from trees or buildings. You'll have a lot better harvest. Everything else falls into that middle category, guys. Just a quick rundown to kind of cover all bases. Peas, beans, greens, potatoes, celery, radish, beetroot, cauliflower, onions, carrots, turnips, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, tomatoes, and garlic are all considered partial shade lovers. We know that we had tomatoes in the back end of this bed last year, and we know that they did amazing. They were probably getting anywhere between 4 and 6 hours of light daily. But we're gonna plant carrots there. Matter of fact, we've already planted carrots there. It's just they take like 20 days to germinate, so there's nothing to show for it yet. But back to our beans, roots, greens, fruits discussion. Just to clarify, guys, I'm not talking about fruits like lemons and limes and all that stuff. I'm talking about a fruiting plant, which the edible part is above the soil, as opposed to a root crop where the edible part is below the soil, or a leafy green where the edible part is the leaf. Tomatoes, cucumbers, anything that you pick that's above the soil and pop it right in your mouth, peppers, those are all considered fruiting plants. So please don't confuse that with citrus. Well, that's it for us, guys. Thank you for joining me. What little sun we had is long gone, and it is getting kind of cold in here, so I'm going to take all the babies in, put them under their light, and I am going to get in my hot tub. If you guys want to join me, follow me on Patreon.